So today in class we talked about kind of different types of informational books. So think about this before we get started today. What kind of book do you think Oh Rats is? Is it narrative informational? Is it just informational? Is it hybrid informational? What do you think? I would say it's probably mostly just informational, but it does have some elements of narration in here, where it talks about, remember yesterday we read about how the rat was on his shoulder. That's a little bit of narration, especially his first chapter, the rat and I. That's definitely narrative. So this is a bit of a hybrid, but it is quite informational. So today, the first chapter we're going to read is Yummy Rats. So let me look through the text features. Here I have people looking at rats in cages. Maybe this is some sort of market. Rats on the menu. The name of that side story, another side story, non-ratty dishes. So I can tell this is going to be about eating rats. I'm assuming it's about people eating rats. And like I said, the first day we were reading this, I need to be careful about being so judgmental. Like, it seems weird to me to eat rats, but then I eat things that other cultures think are weird. So I just need to be careful about how I am portraying what I say. Just because it's weird to me doesn't mean it's weird to somebody else, and it doesn't mean it's bad. So I'm sorry if I wasn't as objective as I could have been. Today we kind of just talked about different types of informational, so I think when I go through this, maybe I'll just do maybe main idea and key details. So I'm going to read through the whole chapter first to figure out what the main idea is, and then I'll go look for some supporting details. Yummy rats. Throughout history, people have eaten rodents as a delicacy. That means like something special. Roman emperors served their guests roasted dormice dipped in honey or baked and stuffed with pork. On the American frontier, pioneers found possum and squirrel a treat. In some states, people still do. South American Indians ate roasted guinea pig many centuries before Europeans reached the New World. They still do. The World Health Organization, WHO, an agency of the United Nations, reports that 7 million guinea pigs are sold as food in Peru each year. The ancient Chinese called rats household deer. To them, rats were as tasty as deer flesh or venison. Rats are still eaten in certain parts of China. While exploring an outdoor market in the city of Shanghai, I saw caged rats for sale. These were not street or sewer rats, described as filthy by a dealer who spoke in broken English. Instead, they were specially raised for the market. In certain places, rats cost more than pork or chicken. A pound of rat can be nearly twice the price of a pound of beef. So I'm going to look at this picture since this is what connects to that part of the story. So here we have people looking at rats in a cage. They've been grown to be food, just like we grow chickens. Restaurants in China claim marvelous power for rat meat. If you have white hair and eat rat regularly, it will turn black, said an owner's daughter. And if you're going bald and you eat rat every day, your hair will stop falling out. A lot of parents around here feed rat to small children who doesn't have much hair, and the hair grows better. As in China, rat is a popular dish in certain parts of Mexico. Boiled in a soup, grilled over an open pit, or mixed in a stew, rats are a delicacy sweeter than chicken, fans claim. These are not ordinary gutter rats, but grain-eating country rats. Farmers catch them to sell in town markets. French chefs, famous for their savory dishes, have various recipes for rat. The famous Le Rousse cookbook includes one for grilled rat Bordeaux style. Bordeaux is a famous place. As the headquarters of the French wine trade, this bustling seaport has hundreds of deep stone cellars where wine is stored in wooden barrels until bottled and shipped overseas. Rats live in these cellars, often lapping up spilled wine. If a rat laps up enough wine, it becomes an alcoholic rat. Such rats are supposed to be tastier than ordinary rats. The cook first skins the rat, making sure to remove its stomach and intestines. After that, the cook brushes it with a thick paste of olive oil and crushed shallots, a type of onion. Finally, he grills the rat until tender. Rat, says an expert chef, has a slightly musky taste that is not unpleasant. Those who have eaten rat prepare this way. Those that have eaten rat prepared this way compare it to rabbit. Grilled rat Bordeaux style is considered a delicacy. In West Africa, however, rats have become a key part of the diet, almost a necessity of life. Several types of rat, including the cane rat, which lives in sugarcane fields, and the common house mouse, are eaten. According to a report by the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, rats and mice make up over 50% of the meat eaten in some parts of the country of Ghana. For example, during a 2-year period, more than 258,000 pounds of cane rat meat alone were sold in just one market in the city of Accra. A local cane rat recipe calls for skinning the animal and splitting it lengthwise. Fry until brown in a mixture of butter and peanut oil. Cover with water, add tomatoes or tomato puree, hot red peppers, and salt. Simmer until the rat is tender and serve with rice. Rat meat is rich in protein, and since no creature can live without the right proteins in its diet, some nutritionists believe rats might solve the problem of world hunger. Due to their plenitude, that means that there's a lot of them, due to their plenitude, they say rats offer a cheap meat source. Some U.S. government scientists agree. In a recent research project, they made sausages out of a different mixture of rat meat and pork. Those who sampled the dishes voted that a blend of half and half tasted best. I wonder if they knew what they were tasting. Eating rat is not very different from eating other rodent meat. The human stomach can digest any kind of meat, any type of meat. Thus, it is not the meat, but what we think of it that counts. If we think something is disgusting and unhealthy, then our brain sends a message to our stomach, causing nausea. A rat raised for food is no more diseased or gross than a chicken, pig, or cow raised for the same purpose. So, main idea is that many people eat rats. Many people around the world eat rats. So there's my main idea and supporting details. Let me kind of skim through. So the first place we talked about it is Roman emperors. This was baked. It talks about Peru. In Peru, 7 million, so they eat guinea pigs. So maybe we're talking about rodents. So in Peru, they eat guinea pigs. In China, they have the power to like make your hair grow. Maybe I should tell my dad that. Rat is popular in certain parts of Mexico. So they boil it, grill it, or mix it. That is definitely new information to me. Says they don't eat gutter rats, but country rats. It seems like in a couple different places they made sure that you knew that you're not just eating the rats that eat the trash, but the rats that they're like bred to be eaten. In France, they have, what did they call it? Grilled rat Bordeaux style. Oh, the alcoholic rats, that was kind of funny. I'll come back to these last two side things. In Ghana, which is a country in Africa, it says that 50% of the meat eaten, so they eat a cane rat. That's the kind of rat they eat. There's a recipe for it. And they're asking you to consider, the author is saying, Like, it's not different from any other meat as long as you choose one that's raised for food. Probably don't catch one in your backyard and eat it. But if you choose a rat that's raised for food, how is that different than a chicken, pig, or cow? Which are things that most of us eat. Let's go back to those side stories. Rats on the menu. Some restaurants feature rat meat. The Jialu, or super rat in Chinese, has a long menu. Among its choice dishes are rat with chestnut and duck, lotus seeds, rat stew, black bean rat, deep fried lemon rat, rat soup with potatoes and onions, braised rat with roasted pork and garlic, snakes and rat, and a pair of rats wrapped in lotus leaves. Another place, the highest ranking wildflower restaurant, features dishes with these exotic names: mountain rat soup, spicy and salty mountain rat, simmered mountain rat with black beans. So that's what a menu might look like in China. Non-ratty dishes. People, the saying goes, can get used to anything. Here's a partial list of foods people have relished over the centuries. So these are things that are not rats, but we might also think are a little odd. Chocolate-coated ants, beetle grubs, so like the caterpillars of beetles before they turn into beetles, cockroaches, vulture intestines, blue jay stomachs, hummingbird tongues, mushrooms marinated in urine, sheep eyes, earthworms, flies in honey sauce, dog, cat, and horse, other humans, baked, broiled, boiled, fried, raw. Cannibalism is illegal in the United States, but it has happened in the past. All right, readers, we'll go ahead and read the next chapter today as well. Pesky rats, and I think I'm going to do the same thing. Look for main idea and supporting details. So let me just preview quickly pesky rats. So pesky makes me think of somebody who's a little bit of a pest and who's annoying. Here's our illustration. We'll look at it in detail later. Best advice. So this book doesn't have very much that we can really predict except from the title. Pesky rats, so I'm just assuming maybe this is about the ways that rats are kind of annoying to humans. We've talked about how they are positive, right? Like food. They could be used for food and just information about them. So pesky rats. Most people have nothing good to say about rats. In American and English slang, the word stands for evil. A nasty, dishonest person is called a dirty rat or just a rat. To rat out someone is to betray them. A rat fink is a squealer. The English call a fool a rat's head. By joining the rat race, Americans begin an endless struggle to get ahead. When you are soaking wet, you look like a drowned rat. A person may wear ratty or shabby clothes. Such people probably live in a nasty place, a rat trap. When we sense trouble, we smell a rat. So these are all the ways that the English language, uses rat to mean a bad thing. Wild rats are pests. They can't help themselves. It's in their nature. Since they eat the same food that humans do, we are constantly at war with them. Each year, according to one expert, rats in Asia consume at least 48 million tons of rice, enough to feed 250 million people. When we talk about rodent control, we're talking about human survival. In India alone, rats eat or spoil enough grain in a year to fill a freight train 3,000 miles in length. Estimates vary, but worldwide, experts say rats eat or destroy between 1/5 to 1/3 of the human food supply. In the United States, the Department of Agriculture estimates that rats spoil over 400,000 tons of food a year with their urine and droppings. Moreover, rats attack our buildings by gnawing wood, pipes, and walls. Their gnawing of matches and the insulation around electrical wires causes fires. Bold burglars, thieves, they have stolen keys. So here's a picture of some rats. This might be rat droppings, paper clips, a ring, keys. Maybe this is their hole. Let me read that sentence again. Bold burglars, they have stolen keys, coins, and jewelry. Apparently, they like shiny objects. Rats even chew up paper money to make their nests. An Arab oilman distrusted banks. Instead, he stored his spare cash in wooden chests until rats shredded $2 million in bills. Rats also bite people, nearly always at night. While prowling for food, they probably brush up against a sleeping person. When he or she moves, startling them, they bite in self-defense. The U.S. Public Health Service estimates that rats bite some 14,000 Americans every year. According to the United Nations World Health Organization, the yearly number of rat bites worldwide is around 1 million. Although this may seem like a lot, it's a small number since 3 billion people go to bed every night. There's more than 3 billion people in the world, so I don't know what that, maybe this is an old book. If hungry, enough rats may go after people too. A pack of starving rats once ate a man who wandered into an abandoned coal mine, leaving only his bones. Rats have also attacked sewer workers, but not often. Generally, rats will run the other way if they meet an alert, healthy person. Rats are most dangerous if backed into a corner. To fight like a cornered rat is an expression that means to fight fiercely and desperately. In trying to escape, a rat will leap at its attacker, going for the face and eyes. Somebody who's attacking it. If you should see a wild rat, follow my father's advice. Try to appear calm. Chances are it is more afraid of you than you are of it. Most times, screaming at the top of your voice will scare it away. Running away works too. As a rule, rats will not follow. Here's another trick, though you would not want to get close enough to try. Here's another trick, though you would not want to get close enough to try it. During the Civil War, the Confederate prison camp at Anderson, Georgia, swarmed with rats. When awakened by them, Union captives would take a deep breath and blow on those that scurried over their faces. Rats hate the feeling of wind on their fur, so they would flee without stopping to bite anyone. Avoiding rat attacks is a matter of common sense. Do not look for trouble. If you should see a wild rat, avoid it. Leave nothing for rats to eat. Garbage should be kept in strong metal containers, tightly covered. Do not feed pigeons or squirrels. They can take care of themselves. Feeding them is the same as feeding rats, always eager to feast on chunks of discarded bread. To safeguard children from rat bite, health workers advise parents to wash their youngsters' faces and remove their bottles before putting them to bed. So, pesky rats. This chapter tells me, mostly this chapter is about, this is how they ruin the food, how they maybe ruin buildings and money, how they go after other things, how they bite people, and then a little bit of what you can do if you see a rat. So maybe this is about ways that rats are annoying. They're not dangerous, they're just annoying. I'm going to say annoying pests, right? They're a pest. They're not dangerous. It's not like having a pack of wolves around. So the ways that it talks about them being pests are that they destroy food. It talks about them destroying buildings or things in the buildings, stealing things, and it talks about how they will bite people. Now, this chapter also talks about how if they're desperate, they may attack somebody. So attack if desperate. And then it gives a little bit of advice about how to avoid that. That doesn't fit into my main idea, so I'm not going to include it. Sometimes there's just extra information that doesn't quite fit. I don't need to write it down. Let's read those side stories, and then we'll be done for today. Like it or not, it is impossible to keep rats entirely away from farm products. A rat sheds millions of hairs each year. For that reason, the U.S. Department of Agriculture sets standards for the amount of rodent hairs and feces allowed in foods, such as peanut butter. Bon appetit! I think this is saying that no matter what, there's going to be little bits of rodent hair and poo in food. Just hopefully not too much. Bon appetit! That's like being a little sarcastic. Have a good dinner after you heard that information. And then the very best advice. Rat expert David Alderton says, the most effective means of controlling rat populations is to make the environment less hospitable to them. Reducing their food supply through improved hygiene is one approach. Today's tendency to leave garbage, including the remains of food, on the streets in plastic bags rather than in metal or plastic bins is just one example of how rodents can thrive on human handouts. So we have plastic trash cans, so that's probably helpful. The high reproductive rates of rats means that they are ideally placed to exploit a favorable shift in environmental conditions. So this just means if you leave your trash out, rats have so many babies, all of a sudden you're going to have a lot of rats. So that is that. We will continue reading tomorrow.